Nandi had always believed in love, not just the kind that made your heart race, but the kind that builds a life. She married Obasi 7 years ago, under the golden sun of Mbara, a small, peaceful town tucked away in the rolling hills of southwestern Uganda. Everyone who knew them said they were perfect together. Obasi, the ambitious businessman with a voice that could calm storms, and Nandi, the gentle soul who carried strength in her silence. From the start, she stood by him like a lighthouse, steady and unwavering. She gave up her dream of becoming a fashion designer so he could start his logistics company. While he traveled for work, she held the home together. While he dreamed, she sacrificed. Mbara was the kind of place where time moved slowly and neighbors still smiled at each other. Nandi found comfort in that quiet rhythm, cooking for Obasi, tending their little garden, and writing down fashion ideas in her old notebook, just to keep the dream breathing in secret. But slowly, almost too quietly to notice at first, things began to shift. Obasi's kisses grew quicker, his voice less patient. He spent more time on calls he wouldn't explain and came home smelling of unfamiliar perfume. He had excuses, long meetings, traffic, exhaustion, but Nandi felt it in her bones. A woman knows when love starts to leave the room. She didn't cry, not yet, but in her silence, she began to listen more carefully. Something had changed, and deep inside she knew. Nandi's heart felt heavy, but on the outside she stayed calm, like a quiet lake hiding a storm beneath. She couldn't believe what she was beginning to suspect. The man she loved, the one she gave everything for, was slipping away from her. But instead of shouting, crying, or confronting Obasi right away, Nandi made a different choice. She decided to watch, to gather proof. If there was going to be pain, she wanted it to be undeniable, something no one could ignore or explain away. So, she became quiet, careful, almost invisible. She started following Obasi without him knowing. Early mornings, late evenings, she trailed him from the office to the cafes he visited, to the places she had never seen before. At first, it felt strange, like spying on a stranger. But as the days went by, the truth unfolded like a cruel story. There was Zara, a woman Obasi tried so hard to hide. Nandi saw them laughing too close, whispering too softly, touching hands when they thought no one was watching. She took pictures secretly, every moment a dagger to her heart. Each photo was a betrayal stamped in colors she couldn't unsee. Every day she watched Obasi lie, not just to her, but to himself too. Coming home late, tired, with excuses that felt thinner than air, pretending everything was fine, while Nandi was breaking quietly inside. It was exhausting, carrying the weight of knowing and pretending she didn't. But Nandi stayed strong, holding her pain like a secret flame, burning fiercely but never flickering in front of others. She didn't want pity or sympathy. She wanted truth. And now, with every piece of evidence, she was closer to finding the strength to face what she needed to face. The perfect wife in Mbara was fading, but from the ashes, something new was beginning to grow. Nandi felt the pain deep inside her chest, but she refused to let it break her. Instead of falling apart, she made a quiet decision to turn that pain into power. She would no longer be the woman who sacrificed everything for someone else's dream. It was time to find her own path and build something just for herself. She remembered the fashion sketches tucked away in her drawer, the dream she had put on hold for so long. With a new fire in her heart, Nandi signed up for a fashion design workshop in Kampala. It wasn't easy to juggle everything, secretly attending classes while keeping up appearances at home. But every stitch she learned, every fabric she touched, was like reclaiming a piece of herself. The workshop gave her hope and a reason to keep going. Nandi started saving money bit by bit, hiding small amounts from the household expenses. No one noticed as she quietly set aside funds for her new future. She bought fabric scraps, practiced sewing late into the night, and slowly began creating dresses she could be proud of. Her hands, once tied by sacrifice, now worked with freedom and purpose. Building a name from nothing wasn't simple, but Nandi was determined. She made her first dress and showed it to a few close friends. The compliments came, and with them, a small spark of confidence. Word started to spread quietly in Mbara and Kampala. She reinvested every little profit back into her growing collection. Each sale was a step closer to independence. In the silence of her new world, Nandi found strength, She wasn't just the perfect wife anymore. She was becoming her own woman, powerful and unstoppable. Every stitch she sewed was a quiet rebellion against the betrayal she had endured. This was her silent revenge, not with anger or shouting, but with courage and creation, and it was only the beginning. Nandi had never been one for big parties, but this time she wanted everything to be perfect. It was Obasi's birthday, a day that once meant simple happiness, but now carried a weight she couldn't ignore. She planned the surprise party carefully, making sure every detail was just right. She invited all the people who mattered in his life, friends, colleagues and family members. Everyone was told it would be a celebration, but Nandi held a secret of her own, one that would change everything. For weeks, she worked quietly behind the scenes, collecting all the photos and messages she had secretly gathered. She created a slideshow, one that showed the truth in sharp, undeniable images. The faces, the smiles, the hidden meetings with Zara, all captured in moments Obasi thought no one would ever see. It was painful to look at, but Nandi knew this was the moment she had been waiting for. As the day arrived, her heart pounded in her chest. She smiled and laughed with the guests, hiding the storm inside. Every time she caught Obasi's eye, she felt a mix of anger and sadness. He had no idea what was coming, and part of her wanted him to feel the shock she had felt for months. But more than anything, she wanted to reclaim her own power and dignity. The room was filled with music, chatter, and the clinking of glasses. Nandi stood near the screen, fingers trembling just a little as she prepared to press play. The lights dimmed, and all eyes turned to the slideshow. Her breath caught. This wasn't just a birthday party anymore. It was the moment she would finally show the world the truth. Her heart raced as the first photos appeared. She wasn't just celebrating a birthday, she was marking the end of one story and the beginning of another. The surprise would be unforgettable for Obasi, for everyone, and most of all, for Nandi herself. The room was full of laughter and chatter until the screen suddenly lit up and everything changed. The first photo flashed across the screen, a picture of Obasi with Zara smiling too closely, holding hands in a way no husband should with another woman. The air shifted. Gasps spread like wildfire. People leaned forward, eyes wide with shock. The birthday celebration froze in place. Obasi's face drained of colour. His smile vanished, replaced by panic. He looked around the room as if searching for a way out, but there was no escape. Whispers started spreading, soft murmurs turning into stunned questions. Friends who had come to celebrate now looked like strangers, unsure where to stand or what to say. The family exchanged worried glances. No one could deny what they were seeing. And there, in the middle of it all, stood Nandi, calm, steady, composed. Her heart still raced, but her voice was clear and strong when she finally spoke. "Here's your gift, truth." She didn't shout or cry. She didn't beg or accuse. She gave them the one thing no lie could hide anymore. The room grew colder, heavier. The music stopped. Obasi tried to speak, to explain, but his words stumbled and fell short. Nandi's eyes met his for a moment, not with hatred, but with the quiet power of someone who had finally reclaimed her voice. She wasn't broken. She wasn't defeated. She was stronger than the betrayal that tried to destroy her. The photos kept rolling, each one a piece of the story Obasi had tried to hide. The truth was out in the open now, and nothing could put it back in the shadows. The silence that followed was loud, with everything left unsaid. That night, Nandi showed everyone that courage doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's quiet, but it always changes everything. The next morning, Nandi woke up with a strange calm in her chest. No tears, no second thoughts, just a deep, quiet strength. She packed her bags slowly, folding each piece of clothing like she was wrapping up a chapter of her life. She didn't yell or slam the door. She didn't leave a note. She simply walked out of the house she once called home, head held high, heart finally free. Her dignity was the only suitcase she needed. Kampala welcomed her like a blank canvas. The small apartment she moved into wasn't much, just a single room with faded curtains, a creaky fan, and a view of busy streets. But to Nandi, it was everything. It was hers. No lies, no pretending, just space to breathe, to begin again. The mattress on the floor and her little sewing machine in the corner felt like a promise of something new. She didn't waste time. That very week, She started posting her designs on Instagram. Simple, elegant dresses made with love and fire, her hands stitched through the nights, fueled by heartbreak and hope. At first, the likes came slowly. Then, the messages. Can you make one in my size? Do you ship to Entebbe? I love your style. The first order came from a stranger, then another, then a third. With every sale, her confidence stitched itself back together. When it was time to name her brand, she didn't hesitate. Nandi Threads. It was more than just a name. It was her truth, her pain, her comeback woven into every thread. Each design carried a piece of her journey, from the ashes of betrayal to the light of independence. She smiled as she placed her label on the first finished dress. This wasn't just fashion, it was healing, it was power. It was Nandi, rising, not as someone's wife, not as someone's broken heart, but as her own woman, unstoppable and reborn. Nandi never imagined how fast things would grow. What started as quiet Instagram orders soon turned into something bigger. Her designs, soft, bold, unique, began to catch people's eyes. Customers who wore her dresses told their friends, and those friends told more. Word of mouth spread like wildfire, not just in Kampala, but in other towns too. People weren't just buying dresses, they were buying into a story of strength, of rising after being torn apart. Then one day, an influencer posted a photo wearing a Nandi Threads gown. The caption read, "Power stitched into fabric. Every woman needs a Nandi piece." The post went viral. Orders exploded. Suddenly, bridal expos were calling her. Magazines were requesting interviews. She didn't have a big team or fancy machines, but she had heart, and that was enough to carry her forward. She walked into her first bridal showcase with trembling hands, but walked out with 3 major clients and a standing ovation. People were drawn not just to the beauty of her dresses, but to her presence. Calm, confident, unshaken. The woman who once hid behind someone else's shadow now stood in her own light. Then came the moment she never expected. A message saying she'd been nominated for Best Female Entrepreneur of Eastern Africa. She stared at her phone for a long time, tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pride. She remembered the nights she cried into her pillow, the quiet pain, the lonely sewing machine in that tiny apartment, and now the world was clapping for her. During a televised interview, the host asked her what kept her going. Nandi smiled softly and said, "Success is the softest revenge. I didn't need to destroy anyone. I just needed to build myself." Her words echoed across screens, touching women everywhere. She had become more than a designer. She was a voice, a symbol, and her rise was only just beginning. Obasi never thought he would fall so far. After Nandi left, things began to crumble faster than he could fix them. His business, once steady and growing, started bleeding money. Deals slipped through his fingers, clients stopped calling, and stress took over. At first, he blamed the economy, then his staff, anyone but himself. But deep down, he knew the truth. The woman who had held everything together was gone, and so was his luck. Zara didn't stay long either. After the drama of the birthday party, she slowly drifted away. One day, she stopped picking his calls. A week later, she blocked him completely. Obasi was left alone with his regrets, his broken pride, and the mess he created. Then came the worst part, watching Nandi rise. He saw her face on TV during an interview, smiling gracefully as she spoke about her brand. He saw her photos on social media, surrounded by happy brides and glowing clients. Her name was everywhere, on fashion blogs, on the lips of influencers, at bridal expos he once ignored. Nandi Threads had become a household name. She didn't just survive, she soared. One rainy afternoon, Obasi stood outside her office building, holding a bouquet of red roses. He looked up at the sign, Nandi Threads, in bold, proud letters. He hesitated, unsure if he even had the right to walk in. The man who once thought he had all the power now stood small, soaked, and silent, hoping for a second chance. He had rehearsed his apology 100 times, but deep inside, he knew it might be too late. Nandi had already turned her pain into purpose and her silence into success. And now, he was just a shadow from her past, standing in the rain, waiting for a door that might never open again. Nandi was reviewing sketches in her office when her assistant quietly stepped in. "There's someone here to see you," she said softly. Nandi looked up. Obasi. The name didn't sting anymore. She simply nodded. Let him in. He walked in holding the same bouquet she had seen through the window. He looked tired, older somehow. The confident man he used to be was gone, replaced by someone unsure, someone who had finally tasted the bitterness of loss. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then he spoke. Nandi, I was wrong. I lost everything. My business, Zara, myself, but the worst part was losing you. His voice cracked. I know I don't deserve anything, but please forgive me. I'll do anything to fix this. Nandi looked at him calmly, not with anger, not even with pain, just quiet strength. She stood up, walked slowly around her desk, and looked him in the eye. Then, with the softest, most powerful smile, she said, I forgave you the day I chose myself. Obasi blinked, confused. What do you mean? I forgave you when I stopped waiting for you to value me, when I stopped breaking myself to fix you, when I packed my bags, moved to Kampala, and started building my dream from the pieces you left behind. She gently placed the bouquet on the table without even glancing at it. Then she walked past him, graceful and poised, and opened the office door. I have a meeting in 5 minutes. You can see yourself out. Obasi stood there, silent and stunned, as Nandi's heels clicked softly down the hallway. The office around him was a reflection of everything she had become. Elegant, powerful, hers. He was just a memory now, a closed chapter in the story of a woman who refused to stay broken. And as she walked away without looking back, Nandi didn't just leave him in that office. She left behind every piece of her old self that ever needed his love to feel worthy. That was her epic reply. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in victory. The lights were warm and bright as Nandi stood on the grand stage in Lagos. Hundreds of women sat before her, leaders, mothers, dreamers, survivors, waiting to hear her speak. She took a deep breath, holding the mic with steady hands. She wasn't nervous, not anymore. She had lived this story. Every word came from her soul. When my heart broke, she began, I didn't scream, I didn't fight, I didn't chase. I was silent, and in that silence, I found my strength. The room grew quiet, the kind of quiet that listens with every heartbeat. Nandi's voice was soft but powerful. She spoke of betrayal, of losing everything, of walking away with nothing but her name, and how that name became a brand, a movement, a victory. There's a silence that destroys, she said, but there's also a silence that rebuilds. Mine was the kind that made space for growth. It taught me that I didn't need noise to prove my worth. I needed focus, faith, and fire. The audience leaned in, some wiping away quiet tears, others nodding with pride. Nandi paused, eyes scanning the faces of women who had fought their own battle. Then she smiled and said the words that would stay with them forever. Never let their betrayal break you. Let it build you. The room erupted in applause, loud, long, and full of emotion. Women stood, clapping, cheering, some even crying. Nandi's heart was full, not because she had finally gotten justice, but because she had become proof that healing is possible and power can grow from pain. She didn't just leave the stage that day. She left a spark in every woman watching, one that whispered, you can rise too.